My big suggestion to students, particularly through high school, is
you can do anything.
Choose it for you, not for it is worth it.
Just focus on the next step.
Doesn't matter what you're doing.
Don't be afraid.
As long as you're doing something.
That is such good advice.
I don't think I could see myself doing
It's a
anything
challenging life.
Student nights, Wednesday to Saturday.
I worked on that house.
I racked up every single dollar of debt that I
I
possibly
think there's a lot of pressure on high school.
Yeah, I
kids
just
these days,
love working outside.
And if money is something that you care a lot
In
about,
hindsight,
I've also been a very indecisive
But you
person.
keep looking for roads that have been less
It
travelled.
was just that moment that I knew what I wanted to do. So nothing else is going to change that.
Welcome to the guest speaker.
Just as a background, so you had distinctions at school in subjects like English, mathematics, music, geography, biology. You were the best all-round Year 9 girl. You won at your school the Cum Laude badge, which is just the highest academic honour for endorsement, excellence endorsement rates at level 1, 2, 3. But equally, you were peer support, PB Farrell committee, 40-hour famine. You were the blood bank organiser, the chair of the service committee. You did a Clothes for Cause initiative to support a community house which invests in local people who are either homeless or need shelter. You did over 250 hours for SVA. You were captain in 2019 of the school netball team. You were a talented athlete. You represented Waikato, rowing, volleyball, basketball. You were the school was a great place for you, as I feel it there. I just want to jump back because one of the main reasons I wanted you on is Otago. We haven't had Otago represented yet. We had a couple of representations where people went and removed themselves from it for one or two reasons. I think your experience there looked incredibly exciting, and that's one thing I want to touch on. You stayed at Nicole accommodation, so I'm interested for kids who are going down there, your thoughts on accommodation, hostel life, etc. You studied nutrition, Masters in Science Communication. I don't know that science communication. That's one thing. I saw the word science and then I saw communication. I'm like, what the hell's going on here? So really interested in that. You flattered on Castle Street, which almost gives you a badge of honour that you were a filthy little animal who partied, I don't know, like when I looked up Castle Street, the last article on Stuff was the tenants were asked to pay 10K to clean up the rats and the rubbish and so look, I'm really interested whether this is all true and what Castle Street is all about. But from there, then you moved out to the Otago Peninsula, started your masters, started to travel around rural New Zealand with your partner, and you've dabbled in a different way of study. So really interested in that. What most people don't know, and neither did I, it's the oldest university in New Zealand. It's got a real strong academic excellence, obviously that vibrant student life, beautiful campus. It's consistently ranked one of our top universities. That wasn't something I was really aware of, but in the top 1% globally. And it's about number 296 in the world. And it often wins this Prime Minister's Supreme Award for Teaching Excellence. So I thought it was the party city. I didn't understand maybe the true extent to the academic side of it. So really interested there as well. The Central Library, for example, is ranked 13 best in the world.
Isn't it?
Yeah. You've got world-class teaching labs, sporting facilities, and there's a strong research component that they're quite proud of. So look, welcome. Thank you for being here. I can't wait. Obviously, as a kid, you were absolutely amazing with me. And so I really want to see where you've gone and what you've done and get this Otago representation going in terms of what do kids expect if they go there. So can I take you back to your secondary school, how you felt it went, because those accolades might not have been your true reflection. In fact, I have some insights into where I think you got to by year 13 and maybe the way you were feeling, but that's just me. I want to leave all that up to you. So yeah, school, how did it go?
School. I mean, like, I can't say that I didn't like school because I did. I think there was so much going on and so many things that you could sort of dip your fingers into and then, have time to do this and that and the next thing, which I loved. But in terms of schoolwork, I think I was always the person that like did it at home. I was not someone that like did my work at school, like during the time at school that much, which has really influenced what I've done with work so far. I've just like, I think your class especially was really influential for me to kind of figure out how I worked the best. And I did figure out I tended to be by myself. So yeah, I think by year 13, I'd kind of figured that out, and I liked doing all of the like things that were a bit more, we were able to kind of dictate how we worked a little more by that stage. So yeah, but school as a whole, like it was great. Like can't really fault it. I think we were really lucky at Cambridge High as well. Had some amazing kind of different branches, different teachers, and like no matter kind of what your interests were, there was someone to foster it. So I feel like in my senior years, I spent heaps of time in the music room, heaps of time in your room. And that was sort of like between that and netball, that was like my life really by the end of school. Yeah.
Yeah, it is a hard thing I think it's the hard thing teachers must dabble with, because you came to school to socialise. You know, you'd be schooling with friend Grace and you'd immerse what you needed from the teaching, but it wasn't a time to sit down and put your head down. Again, you were a kid who removed themselves, went home, and then went, right, now how do I get excellence? And it is a hard thing. So yeah, I put a shout out to a lot of kids who maybe operate that way and go, look, I'm not lazy. I just need to do it at home, which obviously maybe suits your uni thing. So school it sounds good. It's well-rounded for you. When did you start thinking about where you were going and what you were going to do next? Was it always tertiary? Had you considered other things? And then when did the Otago thing come up? And so, yeah, how did that go for you?
To be honest, I knew I wanted to go to Otago before I knew what the hell I wanted to do, to be honest. And it was a lifestyle choice. First and foremost, I thought that looks so fun. That's so me. That's definitely where I want to go. And my mum is from Dunedin, so I'd been there a few times. I liked it. But yeah, let's not lie. I like the idea of like the big party social, and I knew it was a really good university on the other hand, so I knew I'd be kind of hitting both of the things I cared about at that age. And I remember it must have been like year 12, and this was quite a thing at the time. Now it doesn't seem like a big deal, but thinking back, I remember so many teachers going to me like, oh, like, don't waste yourself, like do medicine, like you can do it, you're really capable, like you should do medicine. And I was like, oh, like just not, it's just, I don't have any interest in being in a hospital. Like, and I knew that at the time. It was not my thing. But I thought, oh, well, I'll just enroll in health science. I'll do it. But in the back of my mind, I was sort of like, I want to do nutrition. Like that's what I was interested in. And
so what were your subjects, Molly? Can I just stop you for the kids sitting there thinking, yeah, I've been sort of not pressured into med, but it's been mentioned, and then you go more that nutrition. Were you must have been quite sciencey, were you bio?
Yeah, I actually took biology and geo the year ahead, so I'd already finished those. So that's why I think, because I hadn't taken physics, but I had the space that I could have picked it up that last year, but I didn't. I also took chemistry, English, maths, music. That would make enough subjects, yeah? Yeah. So that's what my subjects were. So I'd never done physics, but I suppose like there are bridging courses, and I did have that year 13 that I could have caught it up if I wanted to. I didn't, but I still enrolled in health sci, and I went down, and I was proudly the first health sci dropout of 2020. I dropped out of health sci on the first day of university. I had an 8 a.m. physics lecture, and I woke up and I thought, nah, I'm not going. It's not what I'm doing. So I went in instead of my physics lecture. I actually said, I'd like to change my course, please. And they were like, really? You haven't even started? And I was like, no, I just like, now that I was in that environment where I was sort of like, no, this is my place and like, I'm here to do what I want to do. I sort of was like, this is stupid. Like, why would I do something just because everyone thought like that's the right path, when I went and did something really similar anyway. So that first year I pretty much did health sci, just not physics. I picked up a neuroscience double. And again, this story will evolve as we talk. But I was really interested in neuroscience, and I ended up, so my degree was like a double in nutrition and neuroscience at that stage. But I did pick it up because I thought, okay, well, if everyone thought I should have done med, then maybe I'll make sure I'm doing something that's like pushing myself or whatever. And like everyone would say that nutrition was a bit of a easy one, and I didn't know. So I was like, okay, I'll just do both and just leave it at that. So that was my course for there. And then I got to a stage, and it was like halfway through second year, the end of second year, where I was just, nutrition was so hard. It was just biochemistry. Like, I mean, not so hard. It was doable, but it wasn't easy, like everyone had kind of alluded it to be. And then I just felt myself like stressing out so much about the neuroscience thing over and over again that I dropped it. So I actually ended up getting rid of that one, because at the end of the day, and I remember having this conversation with my mum, I was like, I only picked this up because I felt like some kind of pressure to do like the really academic path. And I don't know why I thought that that was a really academic path as opposed to another heavily science-based degree. But yeah. And so yeah, by the end of my undergrad, I finished with a Bachelor of Science in Human Nutrition and a minor in Science Communication. So yeah, that was how that went.
So what's science communication? Can I just ask that? But I've got some other questions. But science what the hell is it?
Well, this is crazy actually, because I went down and while I was in the midst of all of like, oh, well, what do? I saw that Otago had a minor in Science Communication undergrad. And I thought, oh, this sounds really interesting. Like, what is it? And it was basically based on the idea that we have these really, really talented scientists, and we have obviously a public that needs to be communicated all of that complex science. It needs to be disseminated. It needs to be kind of produced in ways that the audience is interested in. But we don't have people specifically trained in that little spot. So it was only available. Yeah, it was only available as a minor undergrad, but I kind of immediately was like, oh, that's my thing. Like, that's what I'm going to do. So I was pretty much my whole undergrad just holding off my master's where I could do it full time. So I decided pretty much instantly that I would do a master's. Yeah.
Right. Can I just go back? So kids all around the country thinking Otago, you obviously went from the North Island down. How did you pay for it? How did that transition go? And then your halls experience as well. Give the kids some advice in terms of what you'd recommend there as well.
Okay. Well, I'll start with the money. I think I was lucky in school, in year 13 especially, that I had a lot of free time because I'd finished a few subjects. So I did work a lot. So I managed to save quite a lot. And then I was fortunate. I got some scholarships. So that did cover, I think, half of my halls. The Dunedin halls were relatively expensive compared to other places, I know, but it was worth it. It was so worth it. In terms of picking my hall, I don't know if it's the same now. I think most places kind of are like first choice, second choice. You know, they have the different priority. You have to list it first if you want a hope of getting in. And I thought, oh yeah, I've got a pretty good CV. Like, I'll get what I want. Surely, like, even I'll get my second choice. No, I got my last choice. And I remember being like, oh, okay, like, damn it. So Unicole was actually, I'd picked, I think, Arana I'd picked first. And then there was another hall. Oh, I think it was Cumberland I picked second, and I regretted it. So I'm so glad I didn't go to Cumberland. Not that there's anything wrong with that. I just had then sat on my thinking and like thought, oh, I don't know. But yeah, I ended up in Unicole. And at the time I felt a bit like ego bruised. I think I was like, oh, okay, like that's fine. But I think before you get there, there's so many preconceptions about halls and about, you know, the vibe of them. And all I'd heard about Unicole, that there was a lot of people that didn't care about uni and just wanted to party. And I was like, oh, it's not really what I wanted, you know. But then I got there and it was awesome, and it was the best hall I could have asked for, suited me best out of all of them. There was like over 500 people. Most of us then moved into that Castle Street area, so we just knew everyone. And I feel like I've come out of uni with so many friends and connections like that did start in that hall, which is, yeah, it worked out for the better. But
there are kids who actually literally don't go to a certain university. They don't make their hall. Yeah, you're suggesting that may not be the right call. Trust them in their process. No,
yeah, I mean, I feel like I'm very like I have the attitude to life, like whatever happens is meant to happen. And like, there's always like a good thing or a positive that will come out of it. And it's kind of like, if that's what's happening for you, just roll with it for now and like see where it takes you. And so, yeah, I got over myself and I was like, oh, it's all right. It'll be fun. And actually, coupled with being in Unico, I actually got put on the ground floor, which was the like worst rooms in the 500 or so rooms. And the reason for that being that before we moved in, they gave us a survey and it was all about our personality and our lifestyle choices. And I was, freshly 18 and I was having a great time. And I was like, I just want to go out all the time and I'm really chatty and and I'm always like keen to do things. So they put me on the floor with a whole bunch of people who were in the same boat. And then I got there and thought, maybe that wasn't my best. Like maybe I should have thought that through. But yeah, it worked out and everyone was really cool and yeah.
Okay, well, so while we're there, Molly, like I followed your lifestyle, if you like, through those first few years, and you had what looked like the time of your life. It is the world some kids think they're moving into to other unis and they're not getting. Yep. What was that whole social scene like for you? The dressing up, the parties, the intensity of it, how regular was it? Or was that just a social media? Yeah, and look, within reason. But I think it's important. Some kids are really focused on this.
Yeah. I mean, I really, really strongly would say that just because you're in Dunedin doesn't mean that's your lifestyle. There are so many people who choose to go, a bit quieter earlier on in uni, and that's so doable. And there are so many people on that same page. So like, no matter which one you feel like you want to immerse yourself in, which lifestyle you want to pick, like there are so many people in the same boat because there's so many people there. Me personally, I was like, right, let's go. We're in Dunedin and this is going to be really fun. And I'm pretty sure that there was a solid year where we would have been out and about 5 days a week, 5 evenings a week. And, it's just because there's always things on. Like there were student nights, there were quiz nights, there were people's birthdays, red cards, like so much to do. And yeah, I feel like me and my friends that I met down there, because most of the friends that I ended up with at uni were not people I knew from high school. They were very much a new group. And yeah, everyone was just so fun. And I think like being that age, it was really exciting to kind of make all these new friends from all around the country, and like we just wanted to like hang out and like have so much fun. And yeah, it was great. That probably went on for like 2 years.
How did you keep yourself safe, Molly? Like now I'm a parent, I've got my hat on and I'm going, oh crap, now my kid wants to go to Otago after listening to Molly and party for 2 years. How did you keep yourself safe? How did you monitor the drinking, and I don't want to go down the drug route, but you know what I mean? Like it's what do you reckon? Yeah. You got some advice?
Well, I feel like I've never been, I mean, obviously everyone has a little stage, but I've never been like a huge drinker. And even in first year, quite often I was finding myself like going out and like I wouldn't always drink. You don't have to be there. I feel like, especially because I'm quite extroverted, people would often go, oh my gosh, like you've had a bit to drink. I'm like, no, like I'm just having fun. Like, but I think I was lucky that our friend group was really conscious and there was a lot of us and we were all really sort of like, had each other's back and just that normal stuff, like making sure that you kind of know where everyone is, that you give each other a message. Like if someone's not feeling well, you don't just like leave them at home and you leave, like you make sure they're okay, put them to bed before you go, all of that sort of thing. But I think the thing about Dunedin, and from what I could hear about my mates in other unis, is that the student community is so concentrated in one area. Like it's in North Dunedin, it's one suburb. So everyone actually knows everyone. And when you're out, you see so many people that you know. So like literally throughout my whole time as a student, I wouldn't leave my house without running into like 4 people I knew, whether that be in the middle of the night, whether that be at 10 a.m. in the morning. Like there were always people around. And me and my friends used to say, like, isn't it crazy? Like we feel like we can walk home after the clubs, like, and we don't feel worried at all. Like there was a big main street, like George Street in Dunedin, it's all lit. And we would go, oh, like if there were less people around, it would be a bit scary. But the way that Dunedin is and the way that the student culture is down there, you always know someone. And I think being in Unicole had been a part of that for me as well, but it just gave us the sense that we were really safe.
Cool.
Yeah.
Can I then, so I don't look biased on the party side, academically, how did you find the jump from school to the type of stuff you were learning, the quality of lectures, the lecture theatres, the tutorials? How was the academic side to you? How much did it stretch you? How did you respond to it?
In first year, I went in with I've spent the last few years shedding my perfectionism, but it's something that I've always been a bit of a perfectionist. I like to have my notes beautiful and color coded and very thorough and all the rest of it. And I went into that first year and doing pretty much health sci. And after every lecture, I was sort of in the library and like rewriting that lecture and doing my pretty notes and whatever. And then I remember hitting a point about halfway through the year where I just thought, well, this is completely unsustainable. And even if this is how I did it at school, the sheer volume of content that we were getting at uni was making it hard to keep up with if I wanted a life also. Like if you didn't want to do the social thing so much, all good, you could definitely keep that up. But I wanted my cake and eat it too, like I wanted both. So I thought, like, I sat down and had to think about how efficient I was being, because I think that was the difference in first year. It wasn't necessarily the difficulty. I think it was the volume at which it came at you. Like maybe a whole topic in school, like a whole paper for NCEA, that amount of content would come at you pretty quick at uni, like in a matter of a few weeks. And it's like they wouldn't necessarily teach you it right down to the ground level, but you needed to, if you were going to do well, like you kind of needed to make sure that you understood all of that yourself. So I didn't find the jump in difficulty too hard, because I think I'd worked out my study process pretty well at school, but I know that was something that a lot of my friends didn't do. And, they'd had the social time at school, and I really didn't, because I was at sports, like, 13 trainings a week vibes. Like I didn't do the social thing so much in high school. So I had friends, but, that uni was definitely my time for that, whereas a lot of my mates felt the other way around, and they were like, oh gosh, like now it's time to like knuckle down and learn. So for all of us, there were like different adjustments, but I would say the big jump was between first and second year. That was when things were like noticeably harder academically. And then obviously again from undergrad to masters, that actually was the first time that I was sitting there going, you can do it. Like, it's okay. So yeah, I hit a spot where I was like, okay, like blood, sweat and tears into this degree. So yeah, definitely.
What sort of grades were you getting, Molly? You've gone from being a pretty, high academic achiever. Were you A's, B's, C's? How did that go?
I think in first year, I was probably a mixture of A's and B's. I never really actually had a GPA on my mind. I totally should have, because that's necessary to get into a master's. But I didn't. I just sort of was, doing my best, but didn't worry too much about it. And I was kind of pretty solid, like A's, high B's. But I do remember in second year when I decided to drop neuroscience, and I thought, okay, like that's actually too much. Like I'm just feeling a bit like saturated. Like I know I'm not going to continue with this major. And then I was like, okay, well, I don't even have to sit that exam. So like, cool, sweet, we'll just cut that, stop going to those lectures. My workload's so much more manageable now. So I didn't go to the lectures for months, honestly. And it was like neurophysiology. It was quite intense, like the paper, like not something I'd learned about before. And then it got to exam time, and I figured out quite promptly that if I didn't sit the exam, I wouldn't qualify as like a full-time student, and all my study link would have been like revoked. So I was like, oh my gosh, I have to sit this exam, shit. And so I sat it, and I got a C-, passed by 1 point, because I hadn't been to any lectures. And I remember being so stoked that I passed. And then one of my friends said, what about your GPA though? And I was like, oh my gosh. And my world just came crashing down. And I was like, oh my God, does this mean that I'm not going to be able to do a postgrad, or because I made a silly mistake? Like, but I think what I found is that as I went through uni, each year your course gets more specific. So if you're in something that you're interested in, you kind of become more interested and more passionate. And so kind of progressively each year, my grades actually got better. Maybe one, because my lifestyle shifted a little bit, but also like I was like, okay, like I'm not having to do the broad stuff. And there's a lot of things in there that I'm not so interested in. Like right now, or towards the end of it, like it's sort of bottlenecking into everything that I hoped that uni would be. Like I don't think that you go down to do nutrition and first year you're feeling like a nutritionist. That you just don't. Like it's very broad science and it's all the building blocks. Now I was only really feeling like I was learning the stuff that I was really interested in, like in that second half of my degree. But you can see how all the first stuff is really important.
It's also like the fact that you quickly dropped things is why I think you were able to have that interest, because even in my situation and other people we've spoken to, you stick at it because you think I've started this, I need to finish it. And that's why we love a story like yours where you go, no, I can recognize I'm not interested in it, so that those decisions can happen quicker. And you don't, even though you still felt that pressure of I'll take neuroscience because that's what quote unquote smart people do, through that's we're recognizing like smart, clever people do a lot of different things. And when you're passionate about something, that's when you say your grades get better, because you're not just studying to pass, which I thought. You're studying because you genuinely want to know, because you're going to see this be used in the real world. And that's the difference of seeing the value in it as opposed to just GPA.
Yeah. And I think like now looking back, I'm kind of glad that I wasn't so worried about the GPA, because I was kind of really immersing myself in the papers that I really liked. And I'm very much like, I feel like I'm often like, I'm naturally interested in a lot of things, and I really find it hard to whittle down to what I'm like, the one that I like. So I think by doing it through, I naturally spent time on the ones that I found really interesting, rather than going, okay, I really need to get a good grade on this. It helped me kind of find my way with the types of work that I liked. Yeah.
I love that. That's the whole point about why you actually go to university, or why people go and do their travel. It's stripping back all of those expectations and going, well, why am I actually doing this? What is the purpose? And if it's to find out I don't like something, that's just as valuable as finding out you do like something. And so that's, I think, just a key message from your story, Molly, is recognizing that there's those external pressures, because you acknowledge that very much, but also recognizing it's your life to live.
Yeah. And I honestly, I remember having like the biggest breakdown in the worst week when I did decide to drop that neuroscience major. I remember like the call to my mum, and I was like, because I've never really been someone to like quit things, or like, and I think I held myself to quite high expectations. And then I had to sit back and think, well, whose expectations were they really though? Like they weren't actually mine. And then when I kind of came to terms with that, I was like, oh good, like I'm fine. Yeah.
It's interesting, isn't it, too? Because what you're also hitting to me is it's user pays, and prior school is not user pays, in terms of often, I've got to do English, or I've got to do maths, or I've got to do science, and I'm only allowed one art. And you go to an environment where you're paying for it. And if you want something, you get. And I think some kids do, they feel too guilty to go to the person who can help them at uni and go, I want to change. There will be kids literally not do it because they don't feel they can, or they've never experienced that concept of, this is my life, this is my study, this is what I want, and someone will make it happen. So I think that's really important. How did you, Molly, through all of that, before I talk about your academics again, how did you stay fit and healthy?
I actually don't think I did. This is a whole different side to uni. But I mean, you'll remember in high school, I had like some pretty like hectic health stuff where I was off school for a bit. I had like glandular fever pretty badly when I was in like year 12. I was off school for like 6 months kind of thing. Like, yeah, had spent a lot of time out. And again, I think that shaped me liking to do things at home and like by myself because I had to for quite a while, and I really struggled with it. Put me in a bit of a hole because like you don't see anyone, you just feel so down and like, so that was always kind of there for me. And then when I got to second year, I'd actually had an injury in my last year of school when I was captaining that netball team, and I trained through it and I played through it, and maybe looking back, I shouldn't have, but I was just like, it was, the final year of school sport and all of the rest of it. So it caught up with me in second year, and I got a really bad quad tendinopathy, and I had to drop all my sport. I couldn't go to the gym. It was just like, yeah, really, really bad. So not that I couldn't, walk around or anything. I wasn't on crutches, but for me, losing that side of things, I felt like I was a bit of an all or nothing person back then. And I really just like, I was like, just quite gutted. And so it just fell away, a lot of that exercise for me for a while. And then quite promptly, the next year was my last year of undergrad. I got really sick with long COVID, like really, really bad. And I'd actually been in and out of hospital quite a lot. Like I ended up in the newspaper like so much. And it was bad. Like I had to move home for a few months because I got a heart like condition. And I couldn't walk very well. Like honestly, I remember walking to the letterbox and back, like I would get heart palpitations. It was really, really bad. And I was worried that I was going to not finish my degree because I was that unwell. Because it was really hard to get into doctors because they wouldn't see you because it was all COVID time. But I was sort of struggling with the heart thing, and I was like, well, how can you do a consult over Zoom? Like, yeah, it was really, really difficult. And so I ended up, after spending a while back at home, I went back to Dunedin, quite unwell, but just as an insurance policy, like I need to finish my degree. And I fully had like a disability, like car park outside the library, like, so like, because I lived on a hill at that stage, I literally couldn't get to uni. So yeah, it probably wasn't until like my fourth year that I felt like I got back to being pretty healthy, but that was a huge kind of string through uni for me, as I don't think, looking back, that I was that healthy despite being a nutrition degree. And like I always ate well, and like I feel I'm really conscious of that sort of thing, but it was like bigger things that was sort of a little bit more out of my control. But at the same time, that experience as a 17-year-old with my health was why I was interested in nutrition in the first place, and like the whole holistic health thing. And that's why I ultimately went into science communication as well. So it all kind of works into the story.
Yeah. So can I ask then, for a kid sitting there going, I might study nutrition or the science communication, just conceptually, what are you learning about? I mean, nutrition, I'm thinking I can probably picture, but can you explain the nutrition side of the degree, the concepts you're learning, and also this types of things you were learning about on that other side with the communication? Because there could be kids who want either of those.
Undergrad for nutrition, the first year is very, very similar to the first year health science course. There's you don't have to take physics, and I don't think you have to take population health. The rest you have to take, so the human body systems 1 and 2, you have to take cells, you have to take I can't even remember now. There's a chemistry paper, there's a biochemistry paper, just, the standard kind of pre-med stuff. But then you also have to take a first year nutrition, which is introduction to nutrition. So if you've got an interest already, or you've played high level sport, you probably would know most of what they teach in that class. It's about macronutrients, like what's a carb, what's fat, what's protein, like a balanced diet, like very entry level stuff. And then you have space to take an extra 8th paper if you wanted to. You don't have to, but I did. I ended up taking a psych paper for my nutrition, my neuroscience stuff. And then second year nutrition, that was when I was like, oh, this is cool. Like, this is really cool. My favorite paper that we had was life cycle nutrition. So it was about how your nutritional needs change throughout the life. So adolescence, as an adult, menopause for women, before you have a baby, like while you're breastfeeding, all of that sort of thing, like late stage of life, and how kind of nutritional therapists can sort of adjust what you need. That was amazing. We had an incredible teacher. It was just like the best thing ever. I was like, this is why I wanted to take nutrition. And then we did a lot of biochemistry. I remember getting through first year nutrition and thinking, oh my gosh, I never have to do chemistry again, thank God. And then I walked into second year and they said, hi, we're the biochemistry department. We take second year nutrition. And I was like, ooh, okay. So we did like a little bit of like phlebotomy, like testing iron levels and ferritin in your blood and things like that. We did a paper on lots actually on behavioral change and kind of like the psychological side, because being nutrition, it is a really sensitive area to kind of help people with, obviously. And there were a lot of people in that course that had struggled with eating disorders. And so the whole course was really mindful of this, because really, like, if you're working in nutrition or dietetics, like, you're going to deal with a lot of that. So you do have to be really wary of the recommendations that you're making, how you're making them, and not being really sort of like expectant and forceful, or recommending things that aren't sustainable for people or healthy. So that was actually a huge part of the course that I didn't expect. But it's done me so well, not just in that field, but in life. I think like it's made me a bit more kind of, yeah.
You said the word work before, Molly. What work is, so that side of your degree, what could you be doing with that? Are you in a hospital? Are you advising overweight people or athletes? Can you touch on that for me?
Yep. So with nutrition, I think if you wanted to go into a really professional kind of pipeline with that, most people would carry on and do a postgrad in something associated. I was a little bit of the black sheep and went the other way. But yeah, a lot of people who wanted to work in the hospital, like a clinical setting, that's treating things like diabetes or, I don't know, consulting with cancer patients, all of that sort of like, actual disease-based nutrition and stuff. You want to be a dietitian. So that means 2 years of a master's degree. Initially, I thought I'd do that, but they actually took that course away from Otago when I was first year. So now you have to be in Auckland at Massey or at Auckland University. And that's the only place you can do it in New Zealand, I think. You might be able to do it online as well. So that's dietetics. The other way that a lot of people go is do a master's in advanced nutrition practice. So that's a master's of applied science. You can do that at Otago. I think you can do that several places around the country. And a lot of the girls that went into that study, they are working as like nutritionists with sports teams. I know one of the girls is working with the Chiefs at the moment, which is pretty cool. There's a girl who I know, she went into intern with another rugby team. Lots of them work at the Food Research Institute. I can't remember. Food and Beverage Research Institute. I'm trying to think. But a lot of them work as like research associates there, or like they do kind of, if they majored in food science as well, there's a lot of sort of cross between those jobs. So yeah, I think to be a registered nutritionist, you have to work in the field for 2 years. And so it's kind of like, you're a lawyer, then you have to do your profs, and then you're a proper lawyer and you sit the bar. With nutrition, you can do a nutrition degree, and then you have to go on into like sort of a supervised nutrition role for 2 years, and then you are a registered nutritionist. But the interesting thing with nutrition in New Zealand is that the title's not protected by law.
Yes.
Which is a really big one.
It's dangerous. It's so,
yeah.
The things you said about all that education you get about how to not tell people, okay, you need to do A, B, and C, all of that sense of professionalism. It's the same with like some therapists. I don't know if in New Zealand, but in England, it's not a protected, it's not a protected title. So people think they're dealing with a nutritionist, but you're not. And maybe they're not no one's trying to, malpractice. That's not what you're doing or set out, but you haven't been trained. I think I've heard this. It's shocking because you don't know that.
Literally, I remember.
What are you saying? So I can call myself a nutritionist?
Well, there are so, how you can like do like a 2-week course online, like nutrition course. You could do that and call yourself a nutritionist just as legally as I could be calling myself a nutritionist, which to me is madness. Like, that's crazy. Because
look out, world.
the layperson doesn't
Yeah.
know, right? Like if you're out there and you go, oh, I'm just making something up. Molly, she's got a private practice. Oh, that's expensive. Oh, but then there's this Ludlam fella who's also a nutritionist and he's doing free consultations or something. Like you don't know to look for these things. And so then Molly, and I'm sure you have to deal with this in all sorts, but like, yeah, it's just not protected title. So anyone can call themselves one and then they can do very sincere damage to the people who are seeking their help.
I think the big thing with this is like social media influencing and like people online or like on TikTok and they're saying, I'm a nutritionist, rah, rah. And like, if you don't have the education to kind of understand like what the difference might be in nutritionists, like you just could blindly be listening, especially younger kids online. This is the bit that like gets me so badly. And like they are potentially delivering really harmful advice. And like just in terms of like energy consumption and things like, and not taking into account people's like energy expenditure or like whether you're a woman and you've got monthly differences, like all of that comes into like a lot of play with nutrition. And like, yeah, it's just really important to, yeah.
Okay. And so then the other side, Molly, that's the nutrition side. What's the other side then for kids who go maybe more specifically that route?
Do you mean into science communication?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's actually a super cool field because it's really, really broad. You can do so much within it. The gutting thing is that I was actually the last graduating cohort at Otago in the course as it was, because I think funding was actually pulled and they decided that department, it was small, but the reason it was internationally recognized, like most of my cohort were actually from the Northern Hemisphere and had been waiting all of COVID to get to New Zealand to take this course. So it was really devastating. And we had to do a lot of protesting to the uni to let them sort of keep our facilities while we studied because like our professors were amazing and like really internationally well known and like just really knowledgeable people, and they cared so much about us. But so the course was sort of, there were three components. There was science filmmaking. So like it was called natural history filmmaking. I did my big sort of master's film on the Hoiho penguin in the Otago Peninsula. So that's huge. It's all about engaging audiences through like film and visual media and like learning how to produce that as well. So it's a really, really creative pursuit. But you had all the science grounding as well, and like you were communicating in that respect. It was like environmental stuff. Then the next section of the degree was like science writing. So that's like creative science writing, science journalism, outreach, and even potentially like reports and consultancy, working like that. All about how to kind of execute those different types of professional writing in a communication sphere, but specifically with science. And so again, the idea was like engaging like lay audiences or target audiences for a client and sort of being that third party in that conversation and kind of just guiding how you approach it. And then the last part, let me think. They used to call it science and society. So that was all about like museum outreach, like public events, like designing interactive exhibits or like citizen science initiatives, like getting the public involved in science and like basically being engaged that way, like really hands-on. And so we had a combination of these kind of different things like throughout our first year. It was quite coursework based. And then in the second year, we actually had to do a project and an internship. And so you could kind of pick whichever one that you found really spoke to you and sort of follow your own path there. And it was very much like if it was using the skills that you'd learned throughout the start of your master's, like that sweet as go for it. And that was kind of how I wrapped up my master's.
What was yours in?
My final project, I interned. The previous year, one of our assessments had been to take on a client and produce a resource for them. I was really lucky. I got onto a huge research project that Otago was involved in, and I produced an animation for them. And it's a healthcare project. It's about supporting long-term health conditions with marginalised communities in New Zealand. So they were working with, I think, the Tongan Health Society, Turanga Health, which is a Māori health organisation up in Gizzy, and the Donald Beasley Institute, which supports people with disabilities for their own like self-determination in health. So those groups are all working together to sort of find a better way to do supported self-management. And so I got to get in and, work with the team, work with the project administration, learn a lot. And that's what my thesis ended up being about as well, producer animation. And then they asked me to stay on for an internship. So my project sort of became this internship, which was last year. And eventually I wrote kind of like a research paper. I guess it's like a thesis, but a research paper that I'm actually still in the process of kind of developing to hopefully publish. But yeah, that was where I ended up. It was kind of like a dissertation. So more traditional than other people. A lot of others made a film. I know some of them are working for National Geographic now, or for Doc. So yeah, there's just so many different ways that people went from this course, which was really cool.
Yeah, what I like about that course, I'm thinking, I've got my teacher hat on. It's like just because you know stuff doesn't mean you can communicate or teach stuff. And I reckon there are a lot of teachers who could have gone through that course and gone, yeah, look, I've got all this conceptual stuff, but how do I get the message across better through film, the way I talk, social media, whatever it is? I could see massive potential. Where are you now? What's going on? Like you've finished, so can you lead us through life? What's happened?
Okay, well, when I'd started my master's and I ended up in a relationship, and he had left uni to be a shearer, a sheep shearer. And you know me, I'm not into that. That's not my world. And so I was still in Dunedin at this point, and he was shearing all around central Otago. And then I'd kind of always been like, maybe I'll do my master's overseas, like maybe I'd travel around. Like I'm a bit of that's definitely my vibe. Like I don't feel like I need to do the real traditional path all the time. Like I'd quite like to just mosey around, do my own thing. So I thought, like at the end of that first year of my master's, I'm just going to pop it online and move in and start working in the shearing sheds, because why not? So we did that. So I moved up to...
working in the shearing sheds as in shearing or picking up, or working as in your study?
Both. Oh. I had one of the farmers saying, I've never seen anyone on a laptop in my shed before. And I was like, yeah, you'll see that a bit this winter. Like, so I learned how to work in the sheds as a wool handler. And yeah, he was shearing and I was with all the shearing gangs like around like rural Otago and doing my master's. So yeah, it was hectic, but so fun. Like wouldn't change it. I feel like it was crazy time. But like I got so much opportunity out of it that was actually relevant to what I was doing too. And I just felt like I was getting done a lot of things that I wanted to do, like sort of travel while I was studying and like doing something totally out of my comfort zone. I was really nervous to do it, which is kind of why I thought that I should. So yeah, we did that. And then I finished my master's in like August last year, and I actually went full time into the sheds until January, which was great. It was just super physical work, total break from academics. And I did, I went straight from high school into undergrad into my master's. So I felt like it was a good idea. I'd been asked to do my PhD, and I thought, I'm really, really keen. I just can't do it straight away because I think I'll burn out. So I thought I'll just take a massive break, I did. And then coming into this year, I was like, okay, time to do something with my study. If I'm going to continue to a PhD, I need to sort of get a bit of experience and kind of make sure that I choose the right topic and choose the right question, because it's so broad and so vast, kind of the things that I'm interested in professionally. So I just started looking around for work, and I ended up, my goal was always to freelance and like work for myself. Like I kind of point blank, that's what I'm doing. Like, and it's a really competitive, hard thing to get into. But I just got a bit stubborn about it, and I just took remote jobs. And like throughout uni, I was taking like little freelance writing gigs, or like I think I wrote like medical presentations for a while, all companies like overseas. Like I was on this freelance website called Upwork. I don't know if you guys, yeah.
It's like
So
a
that was
Fiverr sort of thing. Yeah.
yeah, same kind of gig. And so yeah, I had a bit of that behind me, and I ended up getting a contract with Education Perfect.
Oh,
Yeah. So they were relaunching the Australian science curriculum this year, and they were looking for editors and you know, people to sort of check validity, work with graphic designers to produce like visual aids for learning and like just do that whole thing. And so I got it, and that's what I've been doing. It's kind of my full-time. It's not quite full-time, but yeah, that's been my job since January, which has been epic. Just so cool. It's kind of publishing, but like you definitely like need to be in science to be doing that role. It was just like perfect, like learning a lot and working in remote teams, kind of getting that experience. And then you'll like this, Ludlam. I'm actually teaching 1 day a week at a
Teaching
school.
who?
Cambridge
At
Primary
school, with children.
with children. Yes, I'm a teacher. They call me Miss O. At Cambridge Primary, I play netball. I was playing, and I was only planning on staying in Cambridge like for like a month or two, and then I was thinking, I'll go travel because I work online, so I can be wherever. Or I'll go to Aussie and sort of figure out what I want to do for PhD. And I was filling in a netball team, and someone heard me talking about what I do for work, and she said, you don't want to teach, do you? And I said to her, well, I'm not a teacher. Like I haven't got a teaching degree. She goes, no stress, like science communication, that's like really relevant. We can just do some paperwork and get you like in the classroom. So now on Thursdays, I am the science teacher at Cambridge Primary, and
You're not doing their STEAM stuff, are you? Like that? Because they do
no, they've changed it so that it's just not STEAM anymore. It's just science. But they've got a lab like set up. They've got like a chemicals cupboard, like, and there's no primary science curriculum. So it's pretty much like, go for it, guys. Like, do what you want.
Right.
Yeah. So last Thursday I brought in some taxidermy stoats and ferrets and possums, and we set tracking tunnels all around the school. And yeah, it's so cool. So I've ended up staying in Cambridge for that.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, that's wicked. That's wicked. I've just got to go backwards a little bit because I promised myself I'd ask about it. The Castle Street.
Yes.
The burning of couches, the rodents, the parties, the police. Fill us in on Castle Street for those that don't know what the hell I'm talking about.
Well, yeah, so Castle Street's like the notorious party street, probably the most notorious in New Zealand, I'd argue. And yeah, I mean, you just got to Google it to kind of get the gist of what people's thoughts are. But I mean, the bad stuff always gets the press, doesn't it? Like there's a massive sense of community like around that area. That's the whole North Dunedin, not just Castle Street, but that's really in the thick of it. So in second year, I lived in literally the middle of Castle Street. And my flat, I think there were 6 of us, but we were connected to kind of a bigger building. So all up there was about 16, and that was the same. Our neighbors were the same. On the other side, there was a boys' flat, I think of about like 7 of them. So yeah, it was hectic. A lot of people packed into like one street, which was nuts, especially when you're all 19. And yeah, but I mean, I don't even know. Should I talk about like Rio or O Week and that sort of thing?
Yeah, I mean, some kids are going to want this, yeah.
Okay. So, yeah, O Week on Castle Street is sort of like the be-all and end-all of Dunedin, really. Like, it starts with Flow Week, which is like flatting O Week. And this is the unique thing about Dunedin is that they kind of have like a 2-week O Week because they do the flatting O Week and then the normal O Week, which is the one that's kind of like done by uni. So there are themed parties like every night on Castle Street, and kind of a different flat kind of traditionally hosts them each night. And then again in July, and it's actually, I think it's just happened because I know someone who's just been down for Rio Week in Dunedin. It happens again. And so in second year, my flat was one of the flats that had to host one of these parties. And they're not a house party, it's like a street party. Like you have to, like the police cordon off the whole of the street, and like
it's
you
a
have
responsibility. Yeah.
Yeah. And like you work with the campus cops and register the party, and like it's a whole thing. Like there's posters that go out there, DJs coming from like literally everywhere. Like I'm sure we had a DJ from like not even New Zealand. Like Like it was pretty hectic. And it's your responsibility, like in the house to like sort of plan it all. Yeah. So what did we do? I can't even remember our theme. I don't know. There's all these kind of themes that happen every year. Like there's like the whiteout, and then there's like lights that everyone's like glowing, and then there's like traffic light and everyone's dressing in like red, orange, or green, depending on if you're single or not. And then there's like it's so many I can't even remember. But it was 2 straight weeks of just parties, and that's pretty much how you start the year. I remember when I was first year, my dad had come down. He was like in Dunedin for work, and I just signed my flat on Castle Street, and he said, "Oh, okay, like show me where you're going to be living." I was like, "Oh yeah, okay, we'll like have breakfast, then we'll go on a bit of a walk." I took him down Castle Street, and there was like sewage all over the street, and it's like it leaked. Dad was like, "And you're sure you want to live here?" And I was like, "No, yeah, like it's all good, like it's nice." But looking back, I'm like, how, like, what were we living like? But it was so worth it. It wouldn't change it for a thing. Yeah.
Okay. Very good.
Yeah. It was crazy.
Oh, look, I think you've really hit the things Grace and I were hoping you would. I think that transition to Otago, what's it got to offer, clearly an amazing place to study. And obviously that other side of life is something kids are really interested in. The halls is interesting. I think, going back to what you said about not getting in, I mean, it's funny. It's more of what the kids I see that you expect to get first choices just never do. And I just I wonder whether unis do know a little bit more in their depth of thinking around the culture that you're not aware of in terms of the hostel is something you need to trust in that process.
I've always wondered.
Yeah. How, in the end, what have you come out with, Molly, in terms your student loan up to the eyeballs, are you? Or have you continued to work, or?
I mean, I meant to say this. I used all that money that I'd saved in high school, and I actually paid off my first year. So I never got a loan in that first year. And I kind of regretted that, actually, because then I ended up with no savings throughout my last few years of undergrad, or I had to always build them up over the summer. And then, whereas I think if I'd just taken out like a small weekly in that first year, I wouldn't have cut into those savings. And, obviously it would have added to my loan, but it's already about $75,000. So like, what's another five, because I think in terms of debt, student debt is one that I'm okay with having. So, but yeah, I have a big student loan. Yep. And that's only 4 years.
It's an investment though, isn't it, Molly? It's like you could see it as a debt or it's an investment. And then before it gets away, you've mentioned the PhD and how you were freelancing to figure out what it is you want to do. Have you landed on that decision of what you want to do? Is there a timeline for that?
Funny you say that. This is really current, actually. So I had initially planned to start a PhD this semester. And I think it's probably a continuation of that story of like, I don't have to always do the thing that's expected or whatever. But this time I think I'm a lot more comfortable with it, because I was sort of coming up through like April, May, June. And I just felt like if I started, I'd be starting in an area that other people had told me I'd be good in. And it probably wasn't something that I haven't quite managed to encompass everything I'm interested in into one topic yet. And so I'm not ready. And I talked to my grandma, she's got a PhD, and I said, what do you think? Like, what do you reckon? Am I kind of on the right track, or should I just start? And she said, you just need to know that you can do this for 4 years and absolutely love it every single day. So I'm actually very much still in the process. I'm like thinking really broadly. I might go and do a bit of a yoga training. I feel like I need wider life experience before I rush into it. So that's where I'm at right now.
Oh, I love that. And I think as you called out the fact that you went high school, bachelor's, master's, then you took that break and it was completely different, like so rogue, but so rewarding. And every time you've gone and like just hearing your story, you're in this new situation, whether that is Castle Street or in the sharing shed, you're meeting people, which ultimately with science communication is learning how to talk to people. And to be able to talk to people, you need to know how people listen, and you're only going to get that. And now you're in a primary school teaching young kids and then talking to their parents. So I think there's never a thing as wasted time, and yours is such a good story of that. Is I think you'll make the most of whatever situation you're in. So when you do land on that PhD, she's on.
Yeah. And I think the big thing for me was learning to, like, I was never a patient person, but sort of learning to just like enjoy and like just chill and not rush to the next thing, because I think when I was in your class, Ludlam, I was in a rush to the next thing, and I'm really not anymore, but it's taken a long time to get to that spot. But I think that there's a lot of beautiful things that sort of blossom for people if they can just enjoy where they're at. So yeah, that would be, if I was giving advice to people, that would be the advice.
I love that. Ludlam, what else is there? What have we missed?
Yeah, no, look, I love that, Molly. I think you're right. I think as secondary school has the intensity with which we talk about academics and pathways out and thou must, it becomes a very urgent thing. And when you're dealing with a 15, 16-year-old brain and child, if you like, that can seem overwhelming. And I'm glad you've pulled the reins back and been able to take a breath. Everything, you're finding like you talk yoga. You're taking time out when you need time out. You're building you. And I think that ultimately, let's forget about careers, let's forget about school. You're just building you. And everything you talk about just seems to be, you talk to grandma, you talk to mum, you talk to the boyfriend. It's just building a more comfortable you. And I think it's really wicked. Because like I say, I can see now when you talk, when the only conversation at school is regularly, where are your marks, how you're doing academically, and where the hell are you going? Well, they're 3 of the 50 important things in life, aren't they?
Yeah.
And so I think even now, if I walk back into a classroom tomorrow, I'd take some of your removal with me to go, look, there's more to life. And I just congratulate you on the way you've gone about it. And the way you're thinking. I think you can be proud, parents can be proud, the school can be proud, because you've got it right. Doesn't mean you know what you're doing,
No.
but your attitude's right. So look, thank you for everything. I think your advice will be wicked.
Oh, cool. No, it was so cool. I'm so glad that I could help. It's really cool.
You've helped even us more, like hearing you speak in that whole, the not rushing and being completely okay with that. And talking to your grandma, I remember talking to one of my grandparents about, I'm not sure, and I'll go when I went overseas to do the rowing. And I said, it's like 3 years out of the plan, quote unquote. Yes. And you need sometimes to talk to an older person who's like, shut up. You're going to be what? 21, 22, like you're a baby. And I still say that now. I should start maybe growing up slightly. But I'm like, it is that perspective that sometimes that older generations, and even you to the students listening now, you have a bit of time and perspective and go like, it really isn't a rush. In fact, if you're rushing, that's why they call it a rush, you'll rush into a decision potentially that's not for you.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure people told me that when I was 18, I just wasn't ready to listen, but you probably have to live it a little bit and then go, oh, okay, maybe.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And then we have a sign-off question, but before I ask that, is there anything, Molly, we didn't ask you that you think we should have, or that you want to encapsulate in this podcast?
Not really. I just think the main thing is kind of what we've talked about. I think the best time you could ever spend is time thinking about what you actually want out of your life. And just because that there is a well-defined path to get there doesn't mean that that's your well-defined path, and that there probably is a million different ways you could go to end up at the same destination. So, yeah.
I love it.
Who thought that would end up in a sharing shed?
Not me. Everyone's to this day, people I haven't seen in a few years laugh their head off. They're like, what?
I bet you that the sharers, they have a double look at you when you walk in.
I was a vegan. I literally was a vegan when I walked in there.
Yeah.
Molly, last question, we ask everyone this, is if you got to go back to yourself in year 12 or 13, so we're not talking generic, but specifically Molly to Molly, what advice would you give yourself?
I'm gonna have to think for a second.
Yeah, take your time.
I'd probably just say the same thing, like just, don't be worried if like you change your mind. Don't be worried if things don't sort of pan out the way that you think, because they're probably, it's very cliche, but one door has to close for others to open, and there is always kind of like a silver lining or something around the corner. And that's kind of become my philosophy on life, and I think it's because of all those experiences that I have had. So yeah.
Cool.
Thank you so much, Molly.
Yeah. Thanks, Molly. We really appreciate this, and lovely to see you again. It's been a while, and take
no, it's so good.
yourself. I'm stoked you're in a school, Cambridge Primary. That's wicked. So,
I have so much appreciation for my teachers now. I know how annoying I would have been at school. I'm like, oh my gosh, you're like me.
yeah. No, wicked. Oh, and I can't wait for you to hear this podcast. So yeah, we'll get this. Grace will get on to the wonderful editing she does, but yeah, take care, and look forward to catching up in person sometime.
Yeah, 100%. You guys too. All the best for this. I think it's such a cool thing you're doing.